What? Oh my god. Good day there once again, viewers. This is your mate Kamikaze78 here, coming to you guys with some more Planetside 2 content. Today guys, we're going to be making a valiant return to the series that you guys have total control over, the Time to Gear Up series. This here is the series where you guys can put some of your craziest loadout suggestions in the comment section down below, vote on your favorites, and the highest rated comment will be featured in the next episode. Keeping in mind guys that you can get as creative with this as you would like. I mean hell, I've played as a wannabe Jedi Knight in this series in the past, for God's sake, so yeah, go absolutely nuts. With that said, however, just keep in mind that I won't be considering loadouts that require the use of ASP perks, and implant-reliant loadouts must be available on a new conglomerate character. Anyway, with all that said, this time around we are featuring a loadout by our good friend Growen the Alolan Maworak, who brings us the Nightmare, an anti-infiltrator that is really quite capable of being, well, just a plain old nightmare for their enemies when played right. So, let's get into it. Starting us off is the NSX Tengu, which I for one have a relationship which appears to teeter between wanting to shoot this thing into the closest available sun to purge it from existence, and taking it on a 5-course dinner to show my appreciation for it. I've had some really bad and amazing times with this thing, and it appears to just simply change on the mood of the day. I've got no idea. But with this build, I've got to say, it worked for me. This time around we had the CCLR one-time scope, the hybrid laser sight, and the soft point ammunition, which is actually an effective kit on the weapon, and is something that I would actually recommend using normally. My god, am I actually allowed to use an effective loadout on this series? Jesus, I'm not ready for this. Let's dive deeper. Our secondary weapon here is the NS Blackhand Sidearm, which, for those who don't know, is a hand cannon style weapon that is sort of like a pocket sniper. Just imagine it to be a longer commissioner. It's just a long boy, essentially. A weapon that I actually don't normally run, but has proven to be an absolute blast here to use so far, which, on top of that, Growen actually allowed me to use a laser sight and our own choice of scope. Aw, what a nice lad, letting me actually use an effective sidearm. Anyway, moving on. As far as the rest of the build is concerned, our tool slot sees us running Nano Armor Cloaking. Now, if you watch my streams, you probably have heard me make my stance clear on Nano Armor Cloaking. Look, let's just say I'm not a fan of it. Or am I now? More on that shortly. The Nano Eve Armor was our suit slot of choice here, which makes it very clear that this thing is designed to be one beefy boy in the infiltrator world, with EMP grenades and medkits by our side as well. Also, we were instructed to bring Survivalist 5, which I was only using Survivalist 4 in this video, sorry Growen, and Cat-like 5 to the mix, which was an interesting combo, to say the least, for this loadout. At first, I thought we were going to see a bit of a problem with Survivalist on this loadout due to a couple of reasons we'll go through later, but with a change of playstyle and mentality, I was able to get around those concerns fairly quickly. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that there is the loadout itself, but Growen here also dropped us a bit of a description as to how we should be using it, where he states, the point of this loadout is to be much bulkier and aggressive than other infiltrators, taking advantage of the Nano Armor Cloaking's increased shield health, as well as Nano Eve Armor's damage resistance to stand toe-to-toe with enemies head-on. Essentially, it acts as any standard infantry loadout, but with the added benefit of invisibility that allows you to flank your enemies, or just to escape a fight you know you can't win, thanks to Nano Armor Cloaking's damage reduction of 35%. On top of that, Survivalist helps in escapes in tight situations, as well as lowering your overall downtime between engagements thanks to the faster shield recovery. And as for Cat-like, it should be fairly obvious. It grants you the ability to perform some stupid movement shenanigans over walls or other obstacles, and helps in both escapes and flanking. Beyond that, the loadout primarily makes use of its cloaking to get into close quarters if flanking is not an option, where the NSX Tengu can wreak havoc with its great hipfire at close ranges. And to top it all off is the Blackhand. The Blackhand on the Infiltrator turns you into a makeshift sniper, being able to pick off stationary targets at long distances where the Tengu cannot reach them. Use the Blackhand like you would a semi-auto sniper rifle. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I actually found myself having fucking good time here with this weapon, and this general loadout, I should say. First off, before we get into the can of worms that is the ability slot here, I found the weapon combination to be a menace, and I had a very clear choice between long range and short range combat with these two weapons, and for that reason, they complemented each other very well. There was never any confusion on my behalf as to when I should be using which weapon, and hell, even if I had the black hand out and someone got the jump on me, the tight cone of fire on the hip fire thanks to the laser sight meant that I was at least able to still react in some way, shape or form. But the Nano Eve Armor and the Nano Armor Cloak were the real surprising factors here of this loadout for me. I mean, to give you guys just that slither of context here, Nano Eve Armor wasn't even inserted into on my Infiltrator before this Time to Gear Up episode was done, as I've always been of the opinion that the class should be as sneaky as possible, always. My philosophy has always been that if you didn't start the fight, it isn't your fight to win. But with the Nano Eve Armor, I was actually able to kind of change the course of battle on multiple occasions here as an Infiltrator, and it felt weird, but somewhat empowering. And the cloak, okay. I think what this loadout has done for me here, and for me with this cloak, is that it's made it very clear that my mentality around the cloak wasn't quite right. Never did I think I would be using the cloak as a reactionary measure to make a break for it in situations that weren't working for me. But I was using it in just that way here in battle, and it was working. It made for some hilarious escapes and some tight calls that made for some really cool moments in game actually, and I'm sort of keen to try and work on my theory and my methodology with this loadout just that little bit more to come up with some more absolutely crazy moments. You know, dropping an EMP, following up with some cheeky flanks, and then running when the heat gets just that little bit too spicy ended up being more than possible with the damage reduction for this cloak. I was able to stick in the battle just that little bit longer and then let the cloak soak up a bit more of the damage. With any other cloak, you would have to, you know, drop in, get a kill, and then make a break for it because you had no other form of damage reduction to save you if the enemies actually were able to track you as you made a run for it. But with the Nano Armor Cloak, you can drop an EMP in, follow up with some really cheeky kills, and then start running when it gets a little bit too spicy because you've got that damage reduction coming from the cloak. So yeah, congratulations, Growen. While you haven't completely converted me to using the Nano Armor Cloak 24/7, I've been able to appreciate some of its applications now. I still hated how short its cloak time actually was when you compare it against the other cloaks in the game, but that's something I've got to get used to, and for this application, for this use, it was actually a fairly useful little slot. So, Growen, good sir, congratulations on changing the mind of someone who was really set in his ways with this bloody Nano Armor Cloak. Now, one thing I wanted to quickly touch on here at the end of the video was a good point that was made by Thunderhammer7 that the Survivalist implant creates some counter synergy with the cloaking, as the particle effects that activate when Survivalist activates still allow enemies to trace you while you're cloaked. Now, that was a problem I found that would actually get me killed in open field fights for sure, and I did find myself cursing a few times at Survivalist despite its best intentions to make me live. But in the more CQC urban-facing environments, I was able to quickly dart around a piece of cover and then use Cat-like 5 to access some new verticality that enemies wouldn't normally expect me to be allowed to actually get to, so I was actually able to gain some solid ground that way. Overall, I found ways to get around that annoyance, and I feel as though in the more CQC urban-like areas, it's not going to be a huge problem. I've also got to say, Cat-like 5 is just too much fun in this game. If you're looking for a novelty implant to work on for your more mobile Infiltrator-like classes, or hell, even if you want to try an off-meta build on a heavy assault, Cat-like 5 is definitely a lot of fun to get into. Anyway guys, with all that said, that wraps up today's episode of the Time to Gear Up series. Growen, once again mate, I thank you for submitting your loadout, and I thank everyone who submitted their loadouts last time and didn't get selected. Guys, if you have a loadout you want to see me use in this series, whether it be as stupid as God knows what, or as effective as, you know, trying to block an entire platoon from getting on a point, feel free to jam it in the comment section down below, guys. I'd love to see what you guys have all got planned. If you guys enjoyed the video, backhanding the like button would be greatly appreciated, and on top of that, guys, I am now essentially self-isolating as a result of COVID-19. So, with that, you can expect a lot more videos coming to the channel, and for that, I say, please subscribe, ladies and gentlemen, and keep up to date with all things that we are releasing here on the channel. Once again, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I can't wait to see you guys all in the next one. Take care, guys. Have a good one.